Shaun, here we are. We're going to, in the final hour of the program tonight, talk about Awful Announcing, which is that kind of fan website that talks about the media, people in the media, moving to jobs, things that they say, issues, problems, all that stuff. They compared Bronny James and Tim Tebow. Rob G, can you let us in on this?
Yeah, Awful Announcing has taken some shots at the Odd Couple over the years, but in this
really?
case, they are spot on.
You know what? Can they let Chris be? I mean,
let him breathe. Let him breathe, guys. All right, so Awful Announcing's Andrew Buckholz wrote a column in the wake of Bronny James' inauspicious Summer League debut. Here's what he wrote. One of the areas in sports that draws the most comment is when a media organization's coverage of an athlete seems outsized relative to that athlete's on-field impact. This was seen for many years with Tim Tebow, in particular through his NFL career, but especially his minor league baseball career.
Oh, yes.
But has come up with many others as well since then, the latest example being ESPN's coverage of Bronny James' Summer League debut on Saturday. What gets missed in some of these celebrity stories around sports is that they do actively alienate some others who want the emphasis on the on-court product. That's why it's important to find balance and limit that kind of celebrity coverage.
Spot on. It's spot on, Shaun King. It's just like I get it. I've been in these meetings. Play the hits. Everybody, everybody wants to talk about LeBron and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Like, play the hits and all that. I get it, but it can be frustrating to listen to and hear when it's a beat, a drum beat for somebody who's not even playing or doesn't have that much, potential. At least from the beginning. Like the Tim Tebow playing for the Mets in the minor leagues. He was not making it to the major leagues. He just wasn't. But there was a ridiculous amount of coverage because Tim Tebow moves the needle. Bronny James moves the needle. Regardless of how many minutes he plays, he shoots 2 for 9. They're still going to push him. And it's frustrating as a sports fan. And I think that as a member of the media, it drives me crazy, and I'm a part of it. It drives me crazy. Where are you? Is this all warranted? Just give people what they want, and whoever's the new hotness, that's all that matters?
I just think you can't ever dictate what the fan bases are passionate about. I mean, we're coming off a year where Boston beat the Mavericks in the NBA Finals, yet there are more people interested in what's going on with the Lakers than there are in what's going on in Boston or Dallas. Just kind of is what it is. You have these marquee brands, and they're polarizing. And most of the topics that really generate, attention, whether it be listeners, whether it be viewers, are people or athletes that kind of everybody's kind of split, but they care. Half the people hate their guts, maybe some for no reason. The other half think they walk on water. And that's what you kind of get. Tebow, that was that kind of athlete. LeBron, that's that kind of athlete. Bronny, that's that kind of athlete.
It doesn't mean that they can't be covered. But don't give me – I'll give you the perfect example. I'll never forget it. Tim Tebow has some awful game, has 103 yards, and leads the last drive, and the field goal kicker kicks an 89-yard field goal to win the game, and the camera is on, not on the kicker, it's on Tim Tebow. Look what Tim Tebow did. Like, the kicker kicked the field goal to win the game. It wasn't like Tebow threw a 89-yard touchdown or something, or some unbelievable drive. And the story wouldn't be about the kicker who kicked the field goal to win the game at the end. It was about Tebow, who had 103 yards and was god-awful for the first 3 quarters of the game. That's what I'm talking about. It ain't, I get it. And the what you're talking about, polarizing and all this stuff, if you want to watch the news, you could just watch the news and we could show you every train wreck, every bad thing that ever happens. And that's not what the news is supposed to be. You're supposed to filter out and put stuff that's important based on some merit. It just can't be what moves the needles. You know what the news would look like, Shaun, if we did that? We could do that. There's plenty of bad stuff to show people. That's not what the news is.
Listen, the people like what they like, Rob. It's just to the point where the journalist doesn't get to decide. The journalist has to be reactive.
Get to decide.
You have to be reactive.
If you ever sat in the newsroom or in a meeting for the front page of the newspaper or what's going to lead the news, it ain't like if it bleeds, it leads. Let's just put, all right, somebody was a baby fell out the window. The students were gunned down in high school. They don't lead the news with that every day. It happens.
Hey, Rob, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you're just being a little unrealistic.
I'm unrealistic. No,
yeah.
I think it's lazy.
You can write the
it's
greatest
lazy
book.
by the media. It's lazy.
You can write the greatest book ever written regarding something sports-centric, and if people don't buy it, they don't buy it. If they go out and buy the autobiography of John Daly and want to hear about him drinking beer on the golf course, they get to decide. It's just the truth.
No, it's not. And let me tell you why. So you're telling me that the National Enquirer was better than the New York Times?
I'm not telling you that.
No, all right, but they sold more copies.
Times have changed.
They sold more copies. That don't make it. It was a rag. It doesn't mean that it's better or what people need to read into. And I'm just saying, Sean, people are lazy. The people who are in the sports media are lazy. Let's pick the same 5 topics and bang them and beat them to death. Enough already. All right? And then when you talk about Bronny, you're not even going to give us a fair analysis of him. Well, we got to wait and see. Well, he's a young player. No, he was awful tonight. He was 2 for 9. He couldn't hit the side of a barn. And when
I think you're being slightly hypocritical.
How?
Because what we should have been talking about on any sports talk radio show is Brandon Nimmo hit another home run. He's not in the All-Star game. We're a week away from the Major League Baseball All-Star game? But baseball just doesn't drive traffic. We're talking about LeBron James being voted captain of the USA basketball team because that's what people want to listen to.
Sean, it's relevant.
Am I wrong?
No, it's relevant. Baseball's a different animal because they play 162 games. If baseball was like football and you had 17 games, it would be totally different. I get it. One plays for every day for 6 years. It's never going to be matched 1-for-1. It can't be because it's just like you love ice cream, Sean. Guess what? And then you start working at the ice cream factory and your love for ice cream will never be the same. Would you agree with that?
I agree, but at the same time, you have a great segment. You and Chris, you guys do a great job. It's called Trash Talking Tuesday. Everybody that called in, almost 100% of them were talking basketball. Kings fans were mad because they're disrespected by Laker fans. Laker fans are defending the Lakers. It's just that people like what they like, Rob.
That's fine. There's no reason. Tim Tebow was overblown. It was way too much. It was over the top. It's the same thing with Bronny. I get it. I know it moves the needle. Don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean. And the one thing I love about this show, and Rob G knows it, when me and Chris started this show, we refused to do the same topics over and over.
You guys have a great show. You do.
We won't do it. Rob G, did we not say to ourselves, we will not do that? Because we could get on here every day and talk about LeBron James and talk about Aaron Rodgers and back when Tom Brady and do those topics every single day and take the night off. Rob G, didn't we made a concerted effort not to do that?
Absolutely, another concerted effort. If we wanted to get a guest on and they said you cannot ask me about X topic, which happened to be a big topic, we would say thanks but no thanks.
We won't have them on. We won't have them on. And so all I'm saying, Sean, is that the Bronny coverage will be now. What happens when the season starts and he's not playing? Are they going to leave SportsCenter? Bronny had the 18 DMP tonight. What do you think of that? Is that where we're going to go? I'm just asking.
Has the game started yet? Wouldn't that be the late game? I don't like to agree with you, but I will agree with you in this sense. I listen to The Odd Couple all the time. That's why I jumped at the opportunity to fill in both when you went on vacation and Chris went on vacation because you guys actually speak truth. I think sports talk should be about educating your listeners. I think you should keep some of the topics current, but you should always make your listeners smarter, and that doesn't always revolve around the sensationalization of what everyone else is talking about.
Right. And that's
so hat tip to you guys.
And that's all I'm saying.
Especially you, Rob G. I know you're really driving the ship.
Well, he's the boss. But you get my point is The Bronny coverage is just over the top, like the Tim Tebow that was really bad. I was at ESPN during that time. Sean, I think you were there too at that time. And it was every 5 minutes. Tim Tebow.
Tebow was like the perfect storm because you had this young man that was homeschooled, that wore his Christianity outwardly in public, that had won a national title, a Heisman. But in some ways, he could play. He was limited because of the position. Like if you just baseline, okay, you got to be this, this, and this. But he won a lot of games playing that position as well.
Dude, but,
so he was a polarizing guy.
If people really bought into him. You remember he went with the Jets, and where else did he go after that?
He went Denver. He beat the Steelers in the playoffs too. Yeah, he's a playoff winning quarterback.
And do you remember that play? The only thing I want to say is Dick LeBeau was a defensive a Hall of Famer, right? And they have everybody on the line of scrimmage. They didn't think he could throw like a 8-yard pass. Sean, go back and look at the defensive alignment of that.
Hey, here's where
am I right or wrong on that?
I said all that to back you into a corner, and I'm about to use your words against you, Rob Parker. So I want you to hear this clearly, because you made one of the most ridiculous statements I've ever heard earlier in the show. You said LeBron James does not impact winning. Well, guess who does? Tim Tebow.
No, he doesn't.
Tim Tebow may be one of the most 5 impactful college football players in history.
No, I'm talking about in the pros. I'm not talking about his college career. I'm talking about the pros. He was a 0. He was a 0. He was. And if that winning and that win against Pittsburgh meant anything,
it did.
He would have
sent Mike Tomlin home.
Yeah, he would have.
It's one of the losses that people try and use to like substantiate that Mike Tomlin shouldn't still be the head coach of the Steelers. At the end of the day, what Tebow did at Florida, when you look back on that era, that group of guys,
he only won 1 championship, right? He was on the team for the second one.
He was on the team with Chris Leak the first time, but
okay,
still.
but I'm just saying.
I mean, half that team is turned out to be, not the best American citizens we've ever had. So from a leadership standpoint alone, just keeping those guys available on Saturdays. Like, you're not going to talk trash about Tim Tebow. He's a Florida icon.